Okay, here we are again, and our guest this time is JP Heath, and JP is with Rice University and does the broadcasting, football, basketball, and other sports for Rice. But JP, what's your official title?
I think they call me now, even in the pandemic, Director of Broadcast Operations. So as most people know, that includes a few different things as duties as assigned, but football, basketball, baseball, and then the coaches shows, and it's kind of turned into a multimedia position with podcasts and other web stuff. But
And of course, Rice is a NCAA Division I school, Conference USA. Is that right?
Yeah, Conference USA, old school Southwest Conference. They were in the WAC for a little bit, but I've been in Conference USA since '05.
Yeah.
Before my days, but '05, '06, since they've been in CUSA.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about a little bit about play-by-play this afternoon or this morning, as the case may be. But I also want to talk with JP just about sports media in general and where he sees opportunities for young folks coming up in the sports media world. Talk a little bit about your own background, JP. And JP, as you see him wearing his A&M Commerce shirt there, he is an alumnus of A&M Commerce and the radio TV program at A&M Commerce. And where was it, East Texas State still when you were here?
Yeah, first semester. Actually, I was an old ET guy. So but I put A&M Commerce on the diploma, but I can claim both, I guess.
Okay. But talk a little bit about the path you have followed to get to where you are at Rice now.
Yeah, as generically as it sounds, I was in the same chair as a lot of the folks watching. One of the reasons I loved going to school there is one, I was a commerce guy. I grew up there, so it was still close to home, and I didn't have a clue what I wanted to do. I always loved the media. I thought I'd be in sports writing. I always thought forever I'd be a sports writer. So I ended up being an English major, but really just took to sports, loved sports. But then I got the radio bug probably my sophomore year and just knew, okay, I'm doing radio. I still loved radio growing up too, listening to Cowboys games, Ranger games, Mavericks games, listen to the ticket, still love listening to the ticket, sports radio wherever I go. But this is kind of the medium-sized version of the story. I did play-by-play for an internet company. Yes, kids, they had internet back when I was in college. And then I was doing sales and broadcasting. I got fired from doing the sales job, but they said, hey, you can still do the play-by-play. I was like, all right, that's fine. So I went back to waiting tables and still doing play-by-play. So another season of that. And then in 2002, I got a call out of the blue to come to Lufkin. It was the best move I ever made because I got experience doing everything. And even paying for my wedding, I had to clean the radio station. So really, you have to be a jack of all trades. But then in 2009, so skipping forward about 7 years, cutting my teeth doing a lot of play-by-play, a lot of talk shows, news broadcasting, gathering tape. Did Rice baseball for a little bit. And then at that same time, I came back to A&M Commerce, and I got a call. Jared Knight, who's still the program director at KETR there,
That's right.
Say, hey, what do you think about doing the sports for us? So I did that for 3 seasons. And then subsequently, I was still doing Rice baseball, play-by-play. And then the full-time gig at Rice came open, and coming up, Lord willing, this fall, we actually play sports. It'll be my 9th full season at Rice. So that's kind of the very car wash, quick edition of the story, but really grateful, obviously, to be where I am. And it wouldn't have happened without the schooling at Ole ET, as I call it, A&M Commerce. I owe everything, getting that start there and that experience at a young age.
You did some high school football broadcasting on KETR while you were a student?
Yeah, actually, I went to Commerce High School, and then 99, way back the last century.
Wow.
My very first season doing that with Scott Garner, he did the play-by-play, I did the color, and we won the state championship.
Yep. Commerce won the state championship that year.
So I was like, hey,
what a ride.
Fun. Yeah,
and Garner, I'm sorry, I'm talking over you, but Scott Garner is now at SMU, does football broadcasting for SMU. So, wow, what a team that was. And the job at Lufkin was a local radio job doing high school sports.
Yeah, 4 or 5 stations. I think there was a Spanish station too that was added. I didn't really do any Spanish stuff, but it was football, basketball, eventually some baseball, which turned into junior college baseball. Then I'm sure later we'll talk later about this, but about making your own opportunities. It doesn't matter really what I say today, but if you remember that you make your own luck, you make your opportunities, then that blossoms into other stuff. So yeah, I did eventually junior college baseball. Then that turned into my Rice tape, which I had some good tape to, at least to send to them, just about getting that experience. And I owe my loyalties to A&M Commerce, but still without getting that experience in Lufkin. I still live here to the day and commute to Houston. That wouldn't have happened either, because you have to be good at a lot of things to kind of move up the ladder. And that's not a new.
JP, how do you make your own opportunities? What's the first thing about that?
I think it's reading the market, and young people, I assume mostly younger people watching this, they're more savvy at social media than I am. They know how to get that presence. They have the followers, but it's not the only thing to have the followers, but you have to have the engagement too. And finding that niche, like whatever your passion would be, okay, how do I engage people and then turn that into a gig? Because it's great to be doing it, but how do you make money from doing it? Or, I mean, there's the other side of it too. You could still do your main job and still do this on the side too, which I wouldn't be totally against with the way the world's going now. But it's just about reading the market and engaging in social media, but still finding that niche, whatever your heart.
So things you can do on your own, such as podcasting, blogging, things of that nature, can give you some valuable experience and also put you out in the public eye and may lead to bigger things.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. I should have mentioned that in my answer, but started my own podcast and wanting to kind of grow it into something else, maybe a daily production or a daily show down the line, but knew I wanted to do it. I had this time during the pandemic, so why not kind of cut my teeth again and reacquaint myself how to do it? But just that's where I really think the students watching this now have a huge advantage over it, even though I might be twice as old as some of them, but not about 20 years, let's say, older than most of the students watching, that y'all are more tech savvy in that end of thing. I adapt and try to adapt to those things, but podcasts, blogs. I think the big future is, I mean, not just YouTube, but video cast. I think vidcast will like spike up more, but it's all about telling the story and all about having great content. Don't misgauge any message I give today. It's all about, it's great having experience, but you've got to have great content. That leads to engagement. So I'm not here to tell you what to do, but it's just about finding where you can have good content, whether that be funny, serious, a combination of thought-provoking. It has to be great content to get it rolling and to turn it into something bigger.
We talk a lot about in this class about pleasing an audience, being aware that it's not just about what you want to do or want to say or what you think is good, but what does the audience think? And that ties in to your idea and your recommendation for great content, right?
Yeah. If you might have a really cool idea, but if 5 people are into it, not as much a big, huge deal. You could still do it for the sake of doing it if you have that other stream of income. But yeah, you've got to know your audience. First day, I don't know if he's still teaching there, but Bill Bowen was an English professor. And one of the reasons I like being okay, great. I need to say, hey, thanks for this advice. But one of the reasons I ended up really liking being an English major is it taught about not only digesting content, a large amount of content, and kind of phrasing it very succinctly, which you really have to do in broadcasting, no matter what avenue you pursue. But first day one, Dr. Bowen said, hey, you've got to know your audience, whether you're writing. In this case, I know you do a lot of television production. You've got to know that. You've got to know. And even I have trouble with that still sometimes because I'm trying to do different mediums at times. But yeah, knowing your audience, I'm glad you're teaching them that, because that is the number one thing in any line of communication that you've got to impress upon them.
Mm-hmm. You still love radio, and a lot of people seem to think that radio is passé, but radio is still going strong, and especially when you consider streaming radio and podcasting, and which is a form of radio. Audio communication is going to be with us for the foreseeable future. I don't see a time when it's going to go away, especially as long as people are driving in cars and you want some sort of entertainment and some sort of content coming to you while you're in your car.
Yeah, I mean, how long do we have? We could talk about this forever, but I've gone back and forth candidly on some of this, but then mood of the month, I talked to somebody that you and I won't mention their name for the sake, they might not want this info out there, but like FM radio, the music radio might be dying a little faster than like broadcast or sports radio because it's about the stories. And you mentioned earlier about the audience. There'll always be some kind of niche for strong opinions. And if you can make that connection with that audience, that's why podcast, obviously, it's great talking today, but in 2 months, it might be even more exponentially great. They say 92% of people, there's still reach for radio. 92% of people still get that radio content.
Right.
But podcasting, that's still getting up there. It's around 54%.
Yes.
That's catching up. But yeah, it's one big pie graph though. You've got to figure everything in. But yeah, radio will still be around for quite a long time.
We're not going to keep you too very long. So there's a couple of things I want to ask you about. We haven't talked much about play-by-play specifically, but in a paragraph or two, if someone is interested in play-by-play, either football, basketball, baseball, whatever it might be, what would you recommend to them at this stage?
Get experience. There are opportunities out there. I would find it very hard to believe that there are some teams out there, I know the Commerce area pretty well, or if we have students that live in Dallas or in Texas, there's high school football. You can find a high school football team to broadcast in. You can find somewhere to get experience. And maybe it's a season or two, but cut your teeth and make mistakes, be bad, and listen back to your stuff and critique it and be your own worst critic or get somebody else. It might go without saying, but I don't mind helping. I've helped out a couple students in the past, but if you want my advice too, but the overall advice is just get reps, get experience. I'm even on that ilk. I don't mind telling y'all, but on the NFL side, one of my dreams would be to do the NFL someday. So it's a lot tougher, but I'm trying to cut my teeth getting into an NFL broadcast booth and broadcasting the game so I can get some tape, so I can give to some front office personnel in NFL. But it's just about getting experience, whether that's internet, whether that's your own YouTube channel. You've got to get that experience. There are very few people that can just sit down and land a job right after college. You've got to have some reps and make your own opportunities there.
There's a lot of very small high schools that have streaming play-by-play broadcast of their games online. You'd be surprised how small the school may be sometimes, and somebody's doing play-by-play, and usually with not a great deal of experience. So there's an opportunity there. And then let me ask you, just as you travel Conference USA with Rice and the various sports, outside of broadcasting in the traditional sense, what opportunities, sports media type opportunities, do you see for students?
That's tough because it's changing so fast, and there's still a lot I don't know. I'm not gonna try to sit here in some high and mighty perch and say I don't know everything, because I don't.
It's okay.
But I think the podcasting side is definitely exploding. Now you have to be prepared. It takes a long time. You've got to build that up. But the video side of things, the soon to be yet, what content is out there or what mediums are out there that we don't know about? I'm not talking about TikTok or just social media, but there's got to be some other broadcast platforms that we don't know about that are coming around that maybe if you catch that wave, you could be a big content creator or content influencer in that. But I'd say anything from maybe news gathering. I don't know as much about I know that's really your niche in that side of things, but that's even some stuff I'm thinking about with tying in with a podcast network, trying to build that up because people always want news, but maybe it's just one specific thing. It's I feel bad because there's so many opportunities. Well, and still some emerging ones that are coming.
One thing I think about is when you go to every university that you go to, and they have what I call a sports information office. And those folks now, used to put out a a news release about the upcoming game and statistics and so forth on paper that would be distributed to newspaper reporters and what have you. But they're now involved with video and doing stuff for YouTube, and they're doing social media. And at the Division I level, it seems to me that there's quite a lot of opportunity in that area for young folks.
Yeah, that's a great point, because I didn't think outside of my little bubble. But yeah, we deal with sports information directors so much, and they're the pulse. They know what's going on with the team. So not only do you want to, if you do broadcast at that level, you pepper them with information and questions about the team, but they give you all the stats. And now, I mean, it does take a foot in the door. So like I mentioned, some of those reps on the broadcasting side of things, you'd still have to get in the door in that fashion. And I know some sports information directors that still do broadcasting. So you can do a little bit of both. Now, the path I chose, just broadcast nerd, and I did some SID work when I was at A&M Commerce, but yeah, I'm thinking like, I mean, even photography, you could, if you have that passion, you have to get in with the schools, but there is a niche out there. If you're passionate about it and you want to do the hard work, it might not be comfortable all the time, but if you put in that work, you put in that time, I think that will come, as long as you go in with kind of knowing your expectations, what to expect with stuff.
And I would say here on campus, the opportunities exist within the what I still call the sports information director's office. They call it something else, but with the athletic department, with KETR still, and with the East Texan. Those are all great opportunities to get involved in sports media. And you can do that either through course assignments or just simply as a volunteer as well.
Yeah, and I'd say don't be set in just that one thing. If you do something for a while and don't like it, that's not my thing. And I kind of started it, and I'll kind of end it with this too. But I've got as much time as you want.
No, this is.
I did writing for the East Texan. I did some sports information, but I found my passion, which is what my passion really was at 10, 11 years old, is radio. And that stuck with me. But only getting better at those other things did I enhance my radio career, my broadcasting career. I mean, now most stuff's digital, but that's how I got better, was to learn all those other things. And at the great institution where you are now.
Language is important, isn't it? Your language skill, and this is so much of media is language, one way or another. And so to develop those abilities is so important.
Yeah, you've got to make that connection, not just with your audience, but it sounds so generic, and this might not sink in for everybody, but it is all about who you know. Sure. It is all about the connection you can make just with somebody. And you'd be surprised how easy it is to make that connection. Right. Don't be intimidated. Go up and, I guess not these days, fist bump, or you can't shake too many hands, but emailing, calling, just, hey, what can I do? What do you think of my tape? What do you think about my experience? Don't get it from me. Get it from other people too. You want to get as rounded a connection base as possible. And then the first job you get's the toughest. That's some other wisdom I'll give you. Then after that, things start to open up. But
right. Don't be
if anybody,
I was going to say, don't be passive. Don't wait for it to happen. Don't sit around waiting. You got to be out there and, as you say, make your own opportunities. But don't be passive. Don't wait for it to come to you.
Yeah, there's a balance. You don't want to be overbearing, but you also don't want to be passive. If anything, you want to be a little overbearing more than than passive, because you're right. And that's another thing. You make your own luck. You make your own opportunities, but it starts with that connection, and then eventually it gets a lot easier. You'll get better, and then you'll make those connections, and then people will remember you. Be nice to people, obviously. You want to treat people nicely, but they remember that stuff, and that opens up doors down the line, I think.
JP, all right if I give your email address to students, and they might contact you for advice? Or
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So we will do that. We'll provide that email address and in a link to this video, and JP would be glad to respond to you. JP, thank you for the time today.
Oh, thank you. I always love doing these, and anytime anybody needs something, just let me know.
We're great. This is great, and we hope to do it again. All right, JP Heath, at Rice University in Houston. Thanks, everybody. Hang on, JP, just a sec. Oh, I'm on the wrong thing. Hang on. Here we go.
Okay.